Number 7 is Richlands, and coming in at number 8 is Gate City. So if the playoffs started today, we would be traveling to Ridgeview. 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3, 6, 4, and 5.
I'm sorry, that was my next question. There are 8 teams then that make it.
Right.
Okay.
So it's a simple 1 versus 8 and straight shot from there on. The outside looking in is John Battle at number 9. They're about almost a half a point behind us in the PowerPoint ratings. Lehigh is the 10th team. 11th is Virginia High, and 12th is Lebanon. Great thing about what Gate City is this, everything's in front of them because you take a look at their schedule. After this week, they've got number 6 Marion. They've got John Battle. They've got Lee. And they've also got Wise Central coming up on this. So they've got teams ahead of them with some wins that will throw into our points that will help us to move up.
So realistically, if they take care of business against John Battle and Lee, which are below them, that's going to basically eliminate those 2 schools probably from the playoffs, which would help Gate City's cause.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. So again, they need to take care, because last year, if you remember, when we were at Lehigh, that win put us right on the cusp. And then, of course, we lost to John Battle, that heartbreak. And then, of course, we had Wise Central. If we would have won those 2, either one of those 2, we would have made it in as the 8th seed. Now, again, right now, we'd be looking at Ridgeview if that worked out this year.
So are those played on home field for the higher seed team, not a neutral site?
Nope,
Okay.
Top 4. Again, they can determine whether it's a Friday evening or even a Saturday game, depending on, of course. Then the VHSL gets involved because they're going to say, okay, we can make a better gate if Ridgeview plays on a Saturday versus maybe a Friday night or whatever. Now, really quick, we'll take a look at the 1D. Patrick Henry, you're fighting your Rebels from Glade Springs.
Still waiting on that T-shirt.
Yes, indeed. They are the only undefeated team in the region. Again, they sit at 5-0. Chilhowie is number 2. Grundy is 3. Honaker 4. Thomas Walker 5. Holston at 6. J.I. Burton at 7, and Hurley at 8. There are 15 teams in this particular division. And again, out on the outside looking in is Castlewood, Rural Retreat, Twin Springs, Twin Valley, Rye Cove, Eastside, and Northwood. That's why it was so important. We were talking about Rye Cove a little bit earlier in the season. They got to win, but they forfeit. So they have no opportunity to make points off that team. So it's just they got the
win, but they don't get the points for the other team does the rest of the season.
Right. So let's say if they played a team that won 5 games, that'd be 5 points.
Right.
But there's no opportunity.
They're not there.
Right. So.
Well, let me ask you this: what is a Hogahigi?
It is an Indian word which means
someone who asks too many questions.
Relic of which is standing, not sitting, because of what we're talking about with the reference to the first Indians.
We need to say something because we have dead air right now.
I thought it was a teepee. All right. With that said, you need to give explanations to your classes tomorrow.
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around all of that.
So, anyway, as my phone starts to blow up with...
We're losing listeners by the score right now.
Yes, possibly. So let's save it with something that everybody loves. It's called Tweet It or Delete It. Again, we've got 5 statements that Chris Carr would be typing on his Twitter account. Now, he can, of course, as we talk about, he could hit send as he believes that this to be fact and would share it with the world. Or, thinking better of it, he deletes it. Again, probably not a very truthful statement or the way he thinks. So, let's talk about 5 things for Tweet It or Delete It. First, due to the amount of time and commitment they put into their individual events, Olympic athletes should be paid.
I'm going to state my opinion before I tell you if I would tweet it or delete it.
Oh, he's going to... Okay.
I think these athletes deserve some kind of a cost of living stipend. I know Home Depot offers them part-time jobs while they're training, automatic, which is fantastic. I applaud Home Depot for doing that. I think giving an allowance would allow them to focus more on their training, though, instead of spending the time at work. I'm not talking about them getting rich. I'm not talking about retirement funds, but they should be able to rent an apartment and be able to eat. So, tweet it.
Tweet it.
to that extent.
Mr. Carr believes that Olympic athletes should be paid for representing their country. the honor of representing the country. Not enough for Mr. Carr.
You got to eat. You can't eat pride.
Exactly. So, anyway, and again, all this is in jest, folks. Just second thing, tweet it or delete it. Designated hitter should be banned throughout baseball.
Emphatically tweet it.
Tweet it.
I cannot stand the DH rule. It takes strategy out of the game. Late in the game, 7th, 8th inning, your pitcher's throwing well. He comes up to bat and you're down by a run with bases loaded. Managers have got to make some gutsy decisions right there. If the DH is in place, there's no decisions to make. I think it adds a whole new level to the game having those pitchers come up to bat. Also, I think it makes some pitchers think twice before maybe throwing that brushback pitch because they know that if they come up to bat, they're going to be getting the same thing from the other team.
So, again, the American League designated hitter exists. National League, it does not. Would you be opposed to just the DH going all the way around? Either it's got to be good for both, the rule.
Yes, I don't think it needs to be in either place.
Right.
I've never been a fan.
Right. So, Mr. Carr, 2 tweets in a row.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can go with a third. Again, Mr. Carr, there will never be a female driver that is consistently competitive in any of the major professional driving sports such as NASCAR, Formula One, etc.
This is you trying to bait me into a corner.
Would you tweet that as fact or would you delete that?
I would delete that.
Ooh.
Let me say that again. Delete that.
Okay.
Just because there hasn't been one yet doesn't mean there won't ever be. There are a couple coming up through the ranks right now. Haley Deegan, she's won a couple of K&N races. Natalie Decker's getting a lot of attention. She's moved up to the trucks. They both look very promising. I think it's just a matter of time before a woman wins a major race, other than Danica Patrick's kind of backed into a fuel mileage race there in Japan. Mm-hmm. But it'll come. It'll happen.
So you think that they can consistently be competitive?
I think so.
Year in and year out. You know, we talk about it. Of course, Jimmy Johnson's not been as stellar as, or Kurt Busch. So you think that there will be a female in
Well, you've given me a hard time over saying that female basketball players are not as physical as males. But it doesn't take the physicality to push a gas pedal. It just takes the guts. It takes the guts and the skill of handling the car. And I think a female could do that just as well as a man.
Very nice. Very nice.
Did I redeem myself there?
No, Denny Hamlin will probably call you and be like, just anybody can do it, huh, Mr. Carr? Let's see you drive a Bristol 500.
Well, I did do a driving school at Charlotte one time. Hit 170 down the backstretch.
Awesome. Have you ever drove at Bristol Motor Speedway?
I've driven my own car. I've not driven a race car like I did at Charlotte.
No, not for Speedway lights. We're talking about
No, I did. I think we hit about 75, 85 behind the pace car.
My brother was a Virginia State Trooper, and they had some trainings, and they actually were there and drove. I think they did 25 laps with some police cars. So anyway, all right. Number 4, tweet it or delete it. I agree with the NCAA in allowing the sale of alcohol at college football games throughout the country. Mr. Carr, do you believe that to be true? And tweet it or delete it.
Do I have to pick one right now?
Well, you're going to the game on Saturday, so
let me explain my stance. I'm genuinely not sure yet. On one hand, selling alcohol at an institution made up of predominantly under 21 students seems ludicrous. But I can see the benefits of the added revenue. People are going to sneak it into games anyway. Mm-hmm. If it begins to affect people's behaviors and just starts making everyone obnoxious, no, I'm totally against it. I've been to one of the UT games since they started selling it, though, and I could not tell any difference. There were not fights breaking out like everyone was predicting. Maybe that $12 price tag had something to do with it. You can't really, you couldn't afford it, but
of course there was only 200 fans anyway.
No, that's true. So. But so I'm going to hold off on answering that fully until I've got until I've gone to a few more of these games and actually seen the results.
So we'll be sending Mr. Carr to Neyland Stadium to experience.
Gate City Sports going to pick up the tab for this.
Yeah, we'll broadcast live from Neyland Stadium to see if Mr. Carr's tweeted or deleted comes to fruition.
I got a feeling, though, after Saturday's game with Georgia, there may be a lot of UT fans hitting that line.
Yeah, there may not be enough in Neyland Stadium to get through the game. Lastly, tweeted or deleted, professional athletes should have a portion of their individual salaries directly tied to the overall success of the team they play for each year.
Tweeted, I guess. If I owned a professional team, I would want that as part of my athletes' contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, it's kind of like the old Antonio Brown thing. If a team's dumb enough to sign him, that's on the team. I would want it if I owned the team. Some athletes, I think, need an incentive like that to perform at their peak. You watch NFL players towards the end of the season just go through the motions. NBA players, some are notorious for that.
Right.
NASCAR drivers, a lot of them have something similar. There's some incentive packages in their contracts. They get bonuses for wins, bonus if you make the playoffs, bonus for a number of top tens, that sort of thing. Imagine, Joe, you're a quarterback.
Ooh.
That would be a desperate team. But think about this. You got a split-second decision to make. Playoffs are on the line. Do you lay out and take a massive shot from a linebacker, or do you slide down in relative safety? If you know you get that bonus for making the playoffs, you're more likely to lay out and take a Brett Favre hit there.
Shouldn't they though already be? I mean, of course, I'm as a non-professional athlete, but for the love of it, I mean,
They should be, yes, but realistically, do they?
Right.
I think those monetary incentives might create a little bit more fire.
Gotcha. Tweet it or delete it. So, this week, Mr. Carr says that female athletes are equal to male. He believes in alcohol, and he also thinks that the Olympians should be paid for representing the country. So anyway, again, that's Chris Carr.
I like how you synthesize my responses.
So, anyway, we're off the rails anyway, so it doesn't matter. All right, so we'll come back in just a second, talk quickly about George Wythe, and we'll let you go for the night, folks. Again, you are listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports on a crazy Wednesday night. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
For exceptional Mexican food and the perfect place to stop in before heading out to watch another Gate City victory, La Carreta Express in Weber City offers a tremendous menu of authentic Mexican cuisine at a great price. La Carreta proudly supports Blue Devil Sports, and they're open 7 days a week, even until 10 p.m. every night except Sunday. So dine in with them today or give them a call at 276-386-7000 for call-in orders. Again, that's 276-386-7000. And they're located next to Weber City Drug on U.S. Highway 23 in Weber City.
You are listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
All right, we are back here finishing things up from the campus drive-in. Great night again. Want to say thank you to Kaylin Parton, also to Suzanne Moore, and also our Gate City players that joined us, Coach Housewright. Again, it was a great night. You know, as we get ready for George Wythe. George Wythe comes in at 4-1. As Coach said, a very dangerous team. They are, many pick them to be the threat out of Region C to take on the winner of Chilhowie and Patrick Henry in the state semifinals if it gets that point.
Let me ask you this really quick, just so I understand this correctly. George Wythe being a lower-seeded school, it would benefit them more to beat Gate City than
Correct.
it would for Gate City to beat them as far as those points go.
Right.
Okay.
Basically, the biggest difference in the two is, let me make sure I get my as I want to quote the VHSL officially. Now see, nobody can see it. We're on the radio. 1A schools, you get 16 points for a win. 2A schools, you get 18.
I see.
So, again, when you go up, you get extra points.
So Gate City will pick up 16 points Friday night.
Right. And they'll also will pick up, again, their 2 or 1
I see.
per game.
Well, I have another question for you. What is a maroon? Or is that a misprint? It's supposed to be a moron.
Oh, you called it. Wow.
The
George,
caffeine's kicking in.
George Wythe, I'm